This is the logic 1 puzzle, date fashion. So whenever you're solving a logic puzzle, really important to think about how you're going to order your arguments. And what you don't want to do is set up something that you hope to change later. In a return method, you're only making one return. Okay, so once you make that return, you can't change your mind. So when I read the arguments in this one, what I notice is it says there's a certain case that leads to a 2. So if either the int u or the int date are at least 8, then the returned result should be the integer 2. However, there's an exception to this rule. Okay? The exception to this rule is if either of those int values are 2 or less, then the return should be 0. So the trap here is if we wrote the code in the order that it's stated, and one of the people was an 8 and the other person was a 2, your code might falsely return 2 when it should be returning 0. So it's very important that we put our exception to the rule first. So the sentence that I have highlighted actually needs to be written first. So it's a pretty simple if statement. Okay, we'll just say if u less than or equal to 2, okay, we'll have an or statement, and we'll take date less than or equal to 2. Okay, in this case, we want to return a value of 0. All right, I'll say else if, and the word else here is not really needed in a return method, but it's fine to put it there. Okay, logically it makes sense. Now we'll look at the other exception to the rule, which leads to a return of 2. So if either of these values are 8 or greater, okay, so again, this is an or, and we'll take the date to be at least 8. Okay, in this case, we'll return the value of 2. Now, in all other cases, we're going to return 1. Okay, so all right, looks good. And I'll just show you here. It's real important. If I had these two pieces of code swapped, okay, so if I wrote my arguments out of order, it might seem like it's not a big deal, but let's just take a look at what happens. Okay, so if you wrote your code in the order that was listed, notice that there are a few cases here, okay, where one person is very stylish and the other one isn't, where we were falsely returning a 2 instead of a 0. So if I take it back to the way I had it before, oops. Okay, now it should be good. All right, so real important to put that exception to the rule first.